In this lab, we're going to use Copilot to evaluate various investments using net present value. And so to start off, let's go ahead and start a new chat. And that'll just kind of clear the registers and let us start. And initially we're going to ask, hey, we have an investment and we want to compare to other investments, but we want to calculate the net present value. I think of net present value as the benefits less the cost. And what is that in terms of present value, meaning it's been discounted. So I'm going to start by asking the net present value if the year zero cash outflow is $50,000, so the initial investment was $50,000. And then years 1 through 7, that cash flow is $10,000 each year. And so let's go ahead and ask that. And usually this point is going to say, hey, we need a discount rate. We want to know kind of what the costs are. And so we're going to specify that the discount rate is 8%. So let's just go ahead and write that right in. Let's go ahead and use the discount rate as 8%. And now we're asking it to compute the net present value. And so we'll allow it to do that. And it says the net present value is $2,063.70. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and ask it now to compute that with some various assumptions. Assumptions meaning, hey, what if the initial investment, which we're calling a cash outflow, varies from 40 to 90,000, and we're going to value that at a step of 10,000, meaning I want to look specifically at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, $90,000 investment. And then the return I want to vary, instead of from $10,000, which was the initial specification, I'd like it to vary between 8 and 20,000 and ask what is the net present value. And so let's see what Copilot will provide us in that case. Sometimes it will provide a table, sometimes it will provide a visualization for us to see. But let's see what that looks like in terms of this sensitivity analysis. Because what we want to know is how sensitive these things are to various changes in assumptions, because when we make an investment, we're not certain what that's going to look like. And this immediately went to a heat map, and so you can see that heat map here. Let me see if I can make it just a little bit smaller so we can see it all. And you can kind of see, hey, if the investment is 40,000 to 90,000, and if the return or annual cash inflow is between 8 and 20,000, we can see a much higher net present value if this is very red, and we can see a much lower net present value if the initial investment is 90 and there's not much of an annual return. So you can kind of see what that looks like. And so we could ask it to download that. And so let's go ahead and ask for a downloadable table. I'm just going to write downloadable table and see if it will provide that. Now, I didn't ask kind of specifically, but it asked me if I wanted a downloadable table, and I'll just say, yeah, that's what I want. And so now it's going to provide that for me. It says it's in Excel format, so we're going to want to go take a look at that. And let's see what it provided us there. If it actually gave a heat map or if it gave something else. And I have it opened up here, and you can kind of see what that looks like. Now this is going to be one of those cases where you can see what it looks like, so you can see the values provided here and how they vary depending on the outflow and the inflow. Now it's not described really well here, so we're going to have to quickly go and update that. We could also cut and paste the visualization, or we could actually make something and say, hey, please give me a heat map. So let's go ahead and do that. Please output the heat map. And so we're going to ask it to output that heat map in terms of a visualization rather than the figures. Now the figures are going to be useful for specific things, but let's see if it will give us that. Okay, so here it is, and now it gave me the actual figures, which is more useful, and so we're able to see, the exact amounts for each of those various combinations there. Finally, let's ask it to provide, please output those prompts to the screen. And so you can see what those prompts look like here that we've provided, and now you can kind of see what that looks like here in the various combinations. Now, these are the prompts that were given, but it has even more details here than what we provided. And so that works fine for our purposes, but we may want to save those various prompts. So that completes this lab.